How are you all? I hope you have been missing us. We are back with the yet another class of English for all of you. But before we begin our lesson, let's have some important guidelines right on your screen. That is regarding the COVID-19 appropriate behavior. CAB, right? What you have to do in that, don't forget to wear the mask. Always you have to wear the mask whenever you go out. And you have to follow the physical distancing. That distance of 2 meters, roughly about 6 feet. And finally, you need to take care of your hand hygiene. Wash your hands regularly to stay away from COVID. Now, we begin a bright session of part 2 of the lesson from the Vistas of class 12, Should Wizard Hit Mommy? So we are going to do this lesson and we have a great surprise waiting for all of you in this session. So stay tuned with us. हमारे साथ बने रहिए और आज के facilitators हैं Core Academic Unit की leader Mrs. Nandini Sarangal and me, Mrs. Vandana Harith. So here the pictures of the facilitators, the team leader and me, Vandana Harith.
A very good morning to all of you, all the students. I hope you are getting all the content very well, and let's see what is there in today's session.
Okay, but we never come alone, my dear students. We always come with a team who is always ready with the relentless services for all of you. We care for you and we do love you. So we have with us as YouTube moderators today as Mrs. Rajni Gemini, Mrs. Anjali Chauhan, Mrs. Sonia Makija, and Mr. Manish Sharma. And the two facilitators I have introduced already, the core team leader, Mrs. Nandini Sarangal, and me, Vandana Harith. So, let's begin our wonderful story. And before that we begin, we must have the recap by our storyteller, Mrs. Nandini Sarangal. आपको याद है ना कितनी beautiful story नंदिनी मैम ने सुनाई थी. आगे सुननी है ना वो आपको story? चलो चलते हैं नंदिनी मैम के पास.
Okay, let's have a quick recap of the story which we were exploring last session. So we know every Saturday Jack told his daughter Jo a story which was a slight variation of a basic tale. And remember what was the basic tale? We have a small creature, Roger. It can be a fish, squirrel, chipmunk, and this Roger animal has some problem. And Roger goes to wise old owl. Wise old owl told him to go to wizard, and the wizard performed a magic spell that solved the problem. And in return, he demanded some coins, and usually that Roger animal is falling short of those coins. So he directs that Roger animal, the small animal, to a place where a magic well is there, and that those extra coins are found in that magic well. And the problem is solved. Roger animal plays with other creatures, and this is the end of the story. ये बहुत important है. Make sure you remember this thing कि story कहाँ पे end होती है. When Roger जो animal है, Roger fish, Roger squirrel, Roger chipmunk, जब उसकी problem solve हो जाती है, that Roger animal went home to his mother just in time to hear the train whistle that brought his daddy home from Boston. Jack कौन है? Father. Described their supper. Supper is dinner. ठीक है? Another name for dinner. And the story was over. तो story कहाँ खत्म होती है? Must remember, because आगे हम जब पढ़ेंगे तो हमें यही पता चलेगा कि क्या difference है this time. Okay. Do you remember the protagonist of the story being narrated by Jack? जैक जो कहानी सुना रहे हैं जो को, उसके प्रोटैगनिस्ट कौन है? ओके, आई एम श्योर यू रिमेम्बर, इट्स अ skunk, राइट? और skunk की प्रॉब्लम क्या थी? दैट रॉजर skunk, नाम तो रॉजर ही रहेगा, हर बेसिक टेल में रॉजर एनिमल होता है, तो रॉजर, एंड दिस टाइम द एनिमल इज skunk. So Roger skunk smelled so bad that none of the other little woodland creatures would play with him. याद है कैसे रॉजर स्कंक वुड स्टैंड अलोन, अब बेचारा अकेला खड़ा रहता था, ओ ओ हियर कम्स रॉजर स्टिंकी स्कंक, बट बाकी के जो एनिमल्स हैं ऐसे बोलते थे। और इस चीज को नरेट करते हुए जैक रिमेम्बर्ड सर्टेन ह्यूमिलिएशंस ऑफ हिज चाइल्डहुड, मे बी he also got bullied and his friends bullied him. He was not involved in their games, so he remembered his childhood when he was narrating the story. That's why he had told Joe to listen to the story very carefully. Up now Roger skunk goes to Owl. Owl says, why don't you go and see the wizard? और रॉजर स्कंक कहाँ जा रहे हैं? ऑब्वियसली ही इज गोइंग टू सी द विजर्ड, एंड ही रीचेस विजर्ड्स हाउस, and inside wizard's house there were magical things all jumbled together, but somehow the wizard found a magic wand, jadoo ki chhadi, and he asked Roger skunk that what kind of smell he wanted, and Roger skunk replied that he wanted smell of roses. This was the magic spell, abracadabra.
ओह
Okay.
यस। सो बच्चों, आपको याद है ना कि जब हमने स्टोरी में रॉजर स्कंक की स्मेल को चेंज किया था तो हमने एक मंत्र बोला था, एक स्पेल बोला था, और मैंने दिया था आपको एक होमवर्क कि आपको बनाना है एक ऐसा स्पेल जिससे कि रॉजर स्कंक की स्मेल चेंज हो जाएगी इनटू अ स्वीट स्मेल। विजर्ड ने तो कहा था abracadabra, hocus pocus, Roger Skunk, how do you do? Roses, boses, pull in here. Roger Skunk, you never fear. Bingo! अब हम देखते हैं कि हमारे बच्चों ने कैसा स्पेल बनाया था जिससे कि रॉजर स्कंक की स्मेल बिल्कुल चेंज हो गई into the smell of roses. So congratulations, here are our super active wizards जिन्होंने टाइम पर होमवर्क किया था. We are flashing the name that Shalu, Priyansha Jha and Ankita Nagar. इनके स्पेल हमें पसंद आए. We are flashing it on the screen. And we have some more of the winners, those who have written the sweet spell for the Roger. So here with all of you, right in front of your screen, some more names. So here are our super active wizards: Priyansha Jha, Himanshi, Jessica, Shiv Kumar, Kalpana, Himanshu, Udita, Shalu, Ankita, Mitali, Shabnoor, Sanjay, Sakshi, Akash, Preeti, Leena, Sumit, Shenu, Hema, Lubhanshi, and Chanda Kumari. Thank you very much and congratulations. Let's move forward with the story.
Congratulations, students, for the lovely spells you have made and you have presented in the comment section. Okay, so we were exploring the story. You know that Skunk was falling short of 3 coins, and Wizard directed him to a magic well. And he found those coins in that magic well. He took those coins, he came back to the wizard, and then he was happy, very happy, and ran out into the woods. Now he could play with his friends. All the other little animals, all the other animals of woodland, they played with him because now he smelled very good. They played football, baseball, basketball, hockey, pickup sticks, and then it began to dark and they all ran home to their mommies. So now this was supposed to be the end of the story. Basic tale के according जब वो घर चला जाता है रॉजर एनिमल, यही कहानी का एंड होता है. It's a happy ending, and Roger animal is happy to play with his friends and he comes back home. Or I would like you to take note of this point. आपको याद है Do you remember the story, the fable of the tortoise and the hare? इस स्टोरी को जब फेबल को आपके साथ शेयर किया था, तो एक मॉरल के बाद आई सेड द स्टोरी कंटिन्यूज एंड देन देयर इज अ ट्विस्ट इन द स्टोरी. So even after we had a moral in the story, I told you that how parents, when they tell a story to their kids, to their children, sometimes they modify a fable or a story as per the need of the hour, or maybe when they want to share some moral, some urgent moral or some different moral with their children. So in this story, we did that. We talked about three different morals and three different versions. So let's see how is it related with our story, the story being told by Jack. तो यहाँ तक तो स्टोरी आप सबने देख ली थी कि रॉजर स्कंक की स्मेल चेंज हो गई और रॉजर स्कंक खुशी खुशी अपने घर को चले गए अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ खेलने के बाद. नाउ Jo was starting to fuss with her hands and look out of the window. She thought the story was over. हमें भी ऐसा ही लगा था कि स्टोरी खत्म है. बेसिक टेल के अकॉर्डिंग तो स्टोरी खत्म ही थी. एंड सिमिलरली जो थॉट दैट द स्टोरी वाज ओवर. Jack didn't like women when they took anything for granted. He liked them apprehensive, hanging on his words. अब यहाँ से थोड़ा सा जैक का एक मेल शॉविनिज्म पता चलता है, क्योंकि जब वो कहते हैं ना, वो चाहते हैं कि जो विमेन हैं, जो फीमेल्स हैं, जो लेडीज हैं, वो उसकी बात को बहुत टेकन फॉर ग्रांटेड, बहुत आसानी से ना टाल दे. तो उसको थोड़ा ऑड लगा कि जैक ने जो को जब लगा कि स्टोरी खत्म है, उसने इधर उधर देखना शुरू कर दिया. उसे लगा नहीं नहीं, ऐसे कैसे हो सकता है, शी कैन नॉट टेक मी फॉर ग्रांटेड. एंड ही चेंज्ड, he actually brought a twist in the story. So he changed the story, a new version. तो story अभी बाकी है, खत्म नहीं हुई. So what he is saying, Joe, are you listening?
Yes, Daddy, I'm listening.
Because this is very interesting. Roger Skunk's mommy said, "What's that awful smell?"
What? Awful smell? But the smell changed to the roses.
Yes. So just see Roger Skunk's mother skunk. She's saying, "What's that awful smell?"
It's me, Mommy. I smell like roses now.
Who made you smell like that?
Mama, the wizard. I asked wizard to change my smell.
Well, of all the nerve, you come with me and we are going right back to that very awful wizard. Jo sat up, her hands dabbling in the air with genuine fright. But Daddy, then he said about the other little animals run away. Her hands skittered off into the underbrush. Now she's quite worried. All right, but
But Mommy, all the other little animals would run away from me because of my awful smell. Please don't go to the wizard.
I don't care. You smell the way a little skunk should have. And I'm going to take you right back to that wizard. And she took an umbrella and went back with Roger's skunk and hit that wizard right over the head.
No! Why did Mommy hit the wizard? He did so good to that little Roger skunk. She should not hit the wizard.
She put her hand out to touch his lips, yet, even in her agitation, did not quite dare to stop the source of truth. Inspiration came to her.
But now, then the wizard hit her on the head and did not change that little skunk back. I want that wizard should hit the mommy.
No, the wizard said okay, and Roger's skunk did not smell of roses anymore. So wizard obeyed and agreed to what mommy was saying. So he did not, so smell of roses was gone. Again, the bad smell of skunk was there. So he smelled very bad again.
Oh, but the other little, oh, what about other little animals? Oh, no one is going to talk to Roger Skunk now.
Joanne, it's Daddy's story. Shall Daddy not tell you any more stories? Roger Skunk and his mommy went home and they heard woo woo, and it was the train bringing Daddy Skunk home from Boston. And they had lima beans, celery, mashed potatoes, and pie oh my for dessert. And when Roger Skunk was in bed, Mommy Skunk came and she loved him very much. And that's the end of the story.
But Daddy, listen to me, Daddy.
What?
Then did the other animals run away from Roger Skunk because of his awful smell?
No, eventually they got used to the way he was and did not mind it all.
That was a stupid mommy, I must say.
It was not. Hey, get under the covers and fall fast asleep. Bobby's asleep.
Daddy, please listen to me. Daddy,
What?
tomorrow I want you to tell me another story in which the wizard took that magic wand and hit that mommy right over his head.
No, that's not the story. The little skunk loved his mommy more than he loved all the other little animals, and she knew what was right.
No, Daddy, no. I don't like this ending of the story. It is not a happy ending. I want you to tell me a story tomorrow in which wizard should hit mommy. Say it, Daddy, say it, that you are going to tell me a story in which wizard should hit the mommy.
Well, we'll see. Now, at least have a rest. Stay on bed. You are a good girl. He closed the door and went downstairs. Above him, footsteps vibrated and he called, Joanne, shall I come up there and spank you? With utter weariness, watched his wife labor. The woodwork, a cage of moldings, and rails and baseboards all around them was half old tan, half new ivory, and he felt caught in an ugly middle position.
Okay, he was caught in an ugly middle position. And here we are moving into our the next segment, that is the surprise segment for all of you dear students. So we have with us for the talk show. We are going to have a talk show today in which we are going to listen to some students on the basis of the story, their perspective. So we have with us the students of SKV and RPVV, and we have with us Jaya Sharma, Drishti Bhandari, and Sanchit
Hello.
Priyadarshi. Say hello, dear students, to all the other wonderful students.
Hello, everyone.
Great. So unmute yourself, Jaya Sharma. Okay. So here we are for the talk show. As I have said, that Jack caught himself in an ugly middle position. He kept on insisting on the moral that mother hit the wizard on his head because she wanted the smell of Roger to be changed. Let's hear from our dear students that what is right and why did Joe was not accepting the ending of the story. I ask Sanchit Priyadarshi to reflect on this.
Yes, ma'am. So, what I really feel about this moral question is that Roger Skunk strived so much. He put his own efforts diligently, and eventually, I think he was happy also. So, in a way, he deserved that good smell of roses because he worked hard for it, he struggled for it, he even toiled for it. So ultimately, it's kind of that he earned the smell himself. And Roger's mommy taking that smell away without his will, I don't think it's justifiable from Joe's point of view. Even if I would have been at Joe's place, I would have had the same opinion as Joe had. So even I think that Wizard should have hit the mommy from Joe's perspective.
Oh, see, our generation is speaking so clearly. I would like to ask Jaya Sharma. Jaya, why do you think that Joe consistently asking that wizard should hit mommy right back?
Ma'am, I believe that Jo is a little girl and a little child is not aware of the things what is correct or incorrect for her. She only accepts the things which makes her happy, which is comfortable for her. However, mother could be right because she always thinks about her child. But for a child, happiness is the ultimate priority than her defense mechanism as he is immature. So I think, yes, I agree with this thing that wizard should hit mommy.
Oh, okay. Let's hear from Drishti. Drishti, why do you think Joe kept on insisting to change the ending of the story? What's your take, my dear child?
Ma'am, I think that yes, Wizard should hit mommy. This is so because in the story we can see it very easily that Rogerskin wanted to change his smell so that he can interact more with his friends. He can play with them, he can go outside with them, talk with them. And we also know that the bonding with parents is different from the bonding with our friends. And we cannot share the same bonding with one person. Either it might be our parents or our friends. So, yes, to have that bonding with his friends, he changed his smell. But his mother just failed everything. So, I think, yes, Visa should have known.
Amazing responses from our dear students. This is the future of ours. They are the students of Directorate of Education. Wonderful. I get to know a student's perspective on what is there to be done in the story. They also don't feel like taking the story as it is. They also keep on questioning. But now, as we have heard the child's perspective in the story that whether wizard should hit mommy or no, let's hear from another facilitator, Mrs. Nandini Sarankal, presenting as the adult's perspective. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, students, in Jack's story, Mother Skunk very clearly says that Roger Skunk should smell the way a little skunk should. It shows the concern of the mother. She is concerned about the safety, about the security of her child. And for mother, being a mother, I can say that for a mother, the safety of the child is utmost important. And her priority is to keep her child safe from the dangers and the predators. And this smell, the bad smell, is actually a defense mechanism.
Oh,
Defense
okay.
mechanism for saving that species, skunk, from its predators, from the dangers. So if he compromises with this smell, obviously he will be in a great danger. And a mother is so concerned that she cannot bear that. And she got furiated just because she did not want her child to compromise his safety for just good smell. And moreover, there's one more reason I feel it's the originality. We have to accept the way God has created us. Maybe she wants to make her son realize that accept what nature has given us, because whatever nature has given us, it is for some purpose. So maybe we should try to understand the mother's perspective as well.
Wonderful. So we have heard the children's perspective and the adult perspective on the basis of the lesson. But as Nandini ma'am has said, that to keep the originality and to be in your own self, I would like to ask you now that what's wrong in that? If mother wants that Roger skunk should retain his original smell, what's wrong in that? She is more protected for her child. So what's wrong in that?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Jaya.
Ma'am, I completely agree with this thing that mother is concerned about her child. But ma'am, don't you think the mother should have asked her child why he wanted to change her smell? And she should have told him that what's the reason behind that she is going again, and she is going and she is telling to Roger skunk to regain his smell. So I think time should have been given to Roger skunk to speak something.
Oh my God, time should be given, and mommy should have asked Roger skunk, what's the problem? Wonderful, amazing. Yes, Drishti, what would you like to say on this? Unmute yourself, Drishti.
Ma'am, uh, I want to say that if we look into the story more carefully, we can observe that that neither mother tried to talk to skunk and neither skunk tried to talk to mother. Both were in their ways. Usually, parents have a mentality that they are right, they are perfect, and they don't need to discuss with their children that what they are doing, and they actually impose their decisions on their children. Similarly, mother did in this scenario. She just went ahead to the wizard and said him to change the smell. And similarly, on the other hand, not even Skunk tried to talk to his mother and tried to tell her that, Mom, I have such issues. Both were not talking to each other. So similarly, we see the problem in reality also. And I feel that there is a lack of conversation between both of them.
Amazing response. I am actually amazed, Nandini ma'am, how well they are speaking and they're raising such moral issues. Amazing, dear students. I want my dear students who are there watching this live class, if they have a question from these students or from our facilitators today, please write down your question in the chat box. I want the chat box running right now and telling us how do they like this particular talk show, and if they want to ask any question, type in here. I'm going to take your question and I'm going to ask that question in this talk show. So Jaya has raised the query that mommy should have asked Roger Skunk that what he is going through. And Drishti has also said that yes, there is a communication gap between parents and children. I'm sure everyone must agree with that. I would like to ask Sanchit, what's your take on this? Is that a problem? So, and if an adult or parents or elders, they think really good about their children, don't you think so? That children should obey their parents?
Yes, ma'am. Even I certainly believe that there is some possibility for communication lags. And I think such communication lags occur either due to lack of mutual understanding or due to lack of constant interaction between parents and their children. Apart from that, also due to generation gap, even in the story, Joe's character highly contrasts with Jack's character. And sometimes even the situations get suffocating to maintain the ideal image of a good boy, as our parents are always expecting, they're always expecting their children to be brought up the same way as they had been. And I feel slowly a stage comes when there's no turning back, or the scenario becomes completely unavoidable. So, yes, ma'am, that's a major point of concern that we all need to work collectively for constant interactions.
Amazing, Sanchit. So he has also raised this point of the generation gap. Of course, generation gap will always be there, but there is no scope of the communication gap. So let's hear from Mrs. Nandini what she would like to say here.
Vandana, I'm so pleased to hear these students raise such pertinent questions, and most importantly, talking about the communication gap. So it's very important that our students know the value of communication channel. It should move on, it should be kept going on. But now the question arises that how? Obviously, now we understand that communication gap should not be there. There should be constant interactions. But how to be, we are aware of that, but how to maintain that communication going on? I think we need to have a listening culture in our families, which I feel is missing in Jack's family as well. जैक भी बहुत परेशान हो रहे थे जब जो बार बार उनसे सवाल पूछ रही थी. ही डिड नॉट लाइक द इंटरप्शंस मच. और सबसे बड़ी चीज, जब लास्ट में व्हेन जो वाज आस्किंग कि शी वांटेड टू चेंज द एंड ऑफ द स्टोरी, she wanted a different end of the story. She wants wizard to hit the mommy. Maybe, I think if there had no listening, had there been a listening culture, Jack would have asked his daughter that why does she want this kind of end. जैक को पूछना चाहिए था जो से, ना रॉजर्स कंक की मदर ने पूछा. बहुत अच्छा दृष्टि ने कहा कि रॉजर्स कंक की मदर ने भी नहीं पूछा, और रॉजर्स कंक ने भी जब अपनी स्मेल को चेंज करने के लिए उसने भी अपनी मदर से डिस्कस नहीं किया. हम मान के चल रहे हैं कि डिस्कस नहीं किया, हो सकता है डिस्कस किया भी हो और मदर ने ना सुना हो, बट स्टोरी में इट्स नोवेयर गिवन कि उन्होंने डिस्कस किया मदर से, और उन्होंने सीधा रॉजर्स कंक ने डिसाइड कर लिया वाइज ओल्ड आउल और जाके विजर्ड से अपनी स्मेल चेंज कराने के लिए. मदर स्कंक को भी जब पता चला, शी गॉट सो फ्यूरिएटेड, शी गॉट सो एजिटेटेड, इमीडिएटली अम्ब्रेला उठाया और जाके सिर पे जो है विजर्ड के सिर पे दे मारा. So which shows that there is absence of listening culture in the family, और यही listening culture is absent in Jack's family. जैक भी अपनी मदर, अपनी बेटी की बात नहीं सुन रहे हैं, और जो भी अपने फादर की बात नहीं सुन रही हैं. दोनों, दे नन ऑफ देम इज रेडी टू स्टेप डाउन. दोनों अपनी बात पे अड़े हैं. तो आई थिंक दिस इज हाउ this can be the first step for maintaining that communication or keeping that communication channel going on. So this is very important. Or Jack tells Joanne it's daddy's story. तो उन्होंने एक तरीके से जो को कह दिया कि मेरी कहानी है, मैं जैसे मर्जी सुनाओ, राइट? तो it is very important that he listens to his daughter, and if he starts doing this, I think even Joe would start listening to her father and trying to understand the reason behind the adult perspective. But first, I think we need to understand the reason behind the child perspective.
Exactly. Very, very important issue raised over here in this talk show. तभी तो ज़रूरत पड़ी हमें ये talk show रखने की, जानने के लिए हमारे बच्चों का perspective और adult का perspective. Problem है कहाँ? प्रॉब्लम है एक कम्युनिकेशन चैनल स्थापित करने की, जो कि है ही नहीं. जैसा कि हमारे स्टूडेंट्स ने और हमारे फैसिलिटेटर ने बताया कि ना तो बच्चे ने पूछा माँ बाप से और ना ही माता पिता ने अपने बच्चे से ही कुछ पूछा. सो इट्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट टू हैव अ कम्युनिकेशन चैनल बिटवीन द स्टूडेंट्स, between the children and their parents. It's very important. ये तो बिल्कुल वो वाली बात हो गई ना नंदिनी मैम, कि जैसे रेलवे का जो ट्रैक होता है ना, सो दो जनरेशन है, वो जनरेशन गैप तो देखो हमेशा ही रहेगा, बट कम्युनिकेशन गैप बिल्कुल नहीं होना चाहिए. तभी तो हमारी जनरेशन आगे बढ़ेगी, है ना. सो इट्स जस्ट लाइक अ रेलवे ट्रैक, कि दोनों की दोनों लाइंस जो हैं वो पैरेलल तरीके से चलें और एक दूसरे को समझें. उसके लिए मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग का कोई स्कोप नहीं होना चाहिए. अंडरस्टैंडिंग बहुत जरूरी है, और अंडरस्टैंडिंग आएगी कैसे? वो आएगी हमारी इंटरैक्शन से, बातचीत से. घर में ऐसा माहौल, जैसे नंदिनी मैम ने बताया कि लिसनिंग कल्चर हैज टू बी डेवलप्ड. वो लिसनिंग कल्चर जहां पर माँ बाप बच्चों की सुने और बच्चे भी माँ बाप की सुने. सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट कि हमें इस लिसनिंग कल्चर को कैसे स्थापित करना है. रेलवे के ट्रैक की दोनों लाइनों की तरह इस तरीके से तो चलें, जनरेशन गैप तो रहे बट कम्युनिकेशन गैप ना रहे. सो दिस we end up with our talk show and we are moving to our next segment. But मैंने जैसा कि यहाँ पर chat box में मैं बार बार पढ़ रही थी, बच्चे इतने अच्छे responses दे रहे हैं ना, I am so amazed. यहाँ पर कामिनी झा ने भी लिखा कि parents should have empathy. सबका बच्चों का दर्द निकल करके आ रहा है आज हमारे चैट बॉक्स में कि पेरेंट्स शुड लिसन. सो डियर स्टूडेंट्स, आप ये ऑनलाइन क्लास अपने पेरेंट्स को भी जरूर दिखाइएगा क्योंकि इसमें आपकी ही बात हो रही है यहाँ पर. बच्चों ने और भी बहुत सारे रिस्पॉन्सेज यहाँ पर लिखे हैं. अगर मैं यहाँ पर पढ़ूंगी शाहरीन बानो का, तो शाहरीन बानो ने लिखा देयर इज अ लैक ऑफ लव. उसको भी ब्रिज करने की बहुत जरूरत है. लव से ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है इंटरैक्शन करने की. थैंक यू डियर वंडरफुल स्टूडेंट्स. जया शर्मा, संचित प्रियदर्शी, दृष्टि भंडारी, वी आर रियली प्राउड ऑफ यू. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nandini ma'am, for being a part of the talk show.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
So with this, dear children, we are moving on to the homework segment over here. So let's begin. आज आपने देखा कि हमारा टॉक शो जहां पर अडल्ट एंड चाइल्ड पर्सपेक्टिव था, उसी के बेसिस पे है हमारा होम असाइनमेंट, जहां पर एक क्वेश्चन है क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग से रिलेटेड. सो डोंट फॉरगेट टू डू दिस इन योर नोटबुक, डियर चिल्ड्रन. Here's the question right in front of you. There may be generation gap. Let not there be communication gap. How we can achieve it? Dear students, आपको इसका आंसर लिखना है हमारे डिस्क्रिप्शन बॉक्स में और लिखना है अपने रजिस्टर्स में भी. Now, हमने ये स्टोरी को पढ़ा और अब हम आपको दिखाने वाले हैं मेन कैरेक्टर स्केचेस ऑफ दिस लेसन. Now, here's the bullet points of the character of Jack right in front of you. What you're supposed to do is that you have to prepare a paragraph, write down the character sketch, and do it in your register. You kindly take the screenshot of this.
Vandana, we can discuss few points as well so that our students understand this and we have time for that.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so Jack is a married man living with his pregnant wife, Claire. And he lives with his 4-year-old daughter, Jo, and their 2-year-old son. He is uninspired and disillusioned with the responsibilities. And just like a loving father, he tells the story to his daughter, Jo, to put her to sleep. यहाँ पर आप ये इसके मेन पॉइंट्स देख रहे हैं बच्चों, जिसके लिए आपको इसके लिए पैराग्राफ बनाना है. He also tries to dramatize and modulates his voice to bring the effect. He also pretends that he is a caring husband who shares the household work with his wife. He fails to convince his daughter, uses coercive methods to stick to his point of view, and he is not used to his authority being questioned. He is confused by Joe's questioning. Here are some more points right in front of you, dear students. He finds it hard to accept the fact that Jo has a mind of her own. His viewpoint is particularly biased by personal experiences. ये देखा ना आपने स्टोरी में कि उसका जो व्यू पॉइंट था वो पर्सनल एक्सपीरियंसेस से बायस था. वो बार बार जो को चुप होने के लिए बोलता था और कहता था कि सुनो ये मेरी स्टोरी है, I want to do it as the way I wanted, because he also did not have a very happy childhood. ऐसे instances है जो story के अंदर. Okay. In his own childhood, experiences, he had complexes, he had miseries, and he had humiliations that are very, very evidently brought up into the story. In his stories, he actually follows the strict and unchallenging pattern. वो उसकी जो story होती थी ना, वो बिल्कुल stale और बिल्कुल same होती थी हमेशा, और बस वो उसी में ही कुछ कुछ moderation करके अपनी बिटिया जो को सुना दिया करते थे. Actually, what he was doing, he was channelizing his frustration of his marriage into the story and becomes increasingly upset when Joe contradicts him. उसकी मैरिज लाइफ में फ्रस्ट्रेशन थी. देखा था ना आपने कि ही वॉज नॉट हेल्पिंग हिज वाइफ एंड ही वॉज कॉन्स्टेंटली nagging also with his daughter Jo. And he is actually having a wife. He felt himself that he is being trapped. उनको ऐसा लगता था कि मैं शादी के अंदर ना बंद गया हूँ, ट्रैप हो गया हूँ. And he did not also like his wife, although he wanted to help her out in the work, but he was not doing that. So now, let's have the character sketch of Joe. And if our dear students would like to take the screenshot of the character sketches point, they can do that. So, वो यहाँ पर है, Jack. Now I move on to the character sketch of Joe. So, main bullet points are over here. She's a growing girl, yes, smart, pampered, loved, but she's a sensitive child. कैसे? क्योंकि वो रॉजर स्कंक की पेन को समझती थी, क्योंकि उसके फ्रेंड्स नहीं थे ना, इसलिए. She was very fond of stories, innocent, and she always loved the happy ending of the stories. She lives in the imaginary world of fairies, magic wands, miracles, etc. And she no longer falls asleep at the nap or the bedtime. इस स्टोरी में पर्टिकुलरली जो थी वो अपने ओपिनियन को स्ट्रांगली रखती थी. जैसा आज आपने देखा ना हमारे बच्चों को जो अपना ओपिनियन स्ट्रांगली रख रहे थे. शी इज ऑल्सो द जनरेशन Z. अपने ओपिनियन को स्ट्रांगली रखते हैं और अपनी बात को मनवाने की जिद भी रखते हैं. Does not agree with the ending that her father proposes. जो को नहीं पसंद आया कि जो उसके फादर ने बता दिया वही वो उसको एक्सेप्ट कर लेगी. No, it's not like that. She wanted the story to be changed according to her. जो उसको लॉजिकल लगता है, जो उसको जस्टिफाइबल लगता है, वैसी स्टोरी वो चाहती है. Then she relates to the Rogers desire to be accepted. बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट है बच्चों यहाँ पर. इनफैक्ट सभी न्यू जनरेशन के लिए भी ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप सभी, हम सभी एक्सेप्टेंस चाहते हैं. रॉजर स्कंक भी तो एक्सेप्टेंस चाहता है सोसाइटी में. सो क्या किया उसने अपनी स्मेल चेंज करा दी. हो सकता है कि स्मेल के थ्रू ही वो अपने फ्रेंड्स और ज्यादा बना सके, बट एक्चुअली जो वो उसकी स्मेल थी, उसकी जो ओरिजिनल स्मेल थी, जो भगवान ने उसको वो स्मेल दी थी, वो उसका बचाव करती थी बड़े एनिमल्स से. इसलिए तो मॉमी चाहती थी कि वो रॉजर स्कंक अपनी स्मेल खुद ही रखे. Okay, then she felt the pain of Roger Skunk when he's rejected by his friends. Appreciation means much to her. हम सभी को appreciation की बहुत जरूरत होती है. Here are some more points right in front of your screen. I hope you have taken the screenshot of the previous slide. Now, Joe over here is very logical and argumentative also. Logic के साथ अपने viewpoint को present करती थी और arguments भी करती थी. She has her own mind, and it's very important, dear children. Very important to have your own mind, have your own consensus, and have to present your viewpoints in front properly. She is not able to persuade her father to change the ending of the story. She even urges her father to tell another story. जब उसको लगा कि उसके father story की ending change नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो उसने कहा, Father, tell me another story. और वो story जो उसके हिसाब की ending थी. She was full of questions, very inquisitive, very very important, full of questioning, inquisitive, जानना, चीजों को बीच बीच में से निकालना उसके बारे में. This is what she wanted. Then in this particular story, Roger का जो sacrifice था, कि जो उसने उसकी स्वीट स्मेल जो थी उसकी, वो एज एन ऑब्लिगेशन एंड एज अ ड्यूटी टू वंस फैमिली उसने चेंज करवा दी. जैसा उसके मॉम ने बोला उसने वो करवा दिया. तो Jack consider this right, but Joe, she is actually too young to understand the concept of sacrifice, and therefore she believes कि Roger की जो mother है ना वो villain है, और इसीलिए she deserves a punishment. She is very young. She could not understand that much. Still, Joe's suggestion was that Wizard should hit Roger's mother, and because शायद उसका खुद का चाइल्डहुड ही अनहैप्पी था because of her nature of her parents marriage. शायद उनके पेरेंट्स के बीच में हिट टिप्स चलते होंगे. That's why जो ने instantly कहा कि उसको हिट करना है. फादर ने भी वही सेंटेंसेस को यूज किया, जो ने भी वही सेंटेंस को यूज किया. So, dear children, kindly write down these paragraphs of character sketch of Joe and Jack in your register and get it checked by your teachers. Now, here's the RTC passage based exercise. Nandini ma'am, could you please throw light on this?
Okay, students, you just take a screenshot of this. This is again for your homework. And this is for your reference. You can take the notes. You can take this RTC as notes. And we can have the next slide.
And here are some question answers right in front of your screen, which you can also do in your register. Some question, although they are not sufficient, बहुत सारे नहीं है, but yes, you should do these in your registers. What was usually the basic storyline of the tale?
And students can take screenshot of this.
Yes.
These are for you as notes.
We sell the latest blouse designs, or we sell designer chudar. Earn up to 15,000 rupees per week from home.
Okay, now we can show the acknowledgement slide. And okay, thank you, students. We acknowledge these sites from where we have taken content and pictures for the session. Thank you all. And I hope the talk show was important and it was quite useful for all of you to understand the moral issues involved in the story. So thank you all.
Thank you, dear students. Wonderful chat show and wonderful class. Thank you for staying tuned with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.